is Jalen Anthony Rose.
What up, dope?
I'm David&Jacoby.
And on the cool check-in.
Together we're Jalen&Jacoby. What is it that we do?
We give the people.
The people thought they would get a good game last night in Dallas. That's exactly what they got. Kirk Cousins, Dalvin Cook, and the Vikings jumped out to an early lead. The Cowboys came back and made it a game. And at the end, it was a Dak interception. There was some curious play calling in this game. There was some curious things that the Cowboys did. This is the Hail Mary that would have won it for him, but it was intercepted. Jalen Rose, what do you see from the Vikings that you liked? You've been talking about them all year.
Absolutely, David&Jacoby. And of course, the 49ers are undefeated. The Saints ended up losing yesterday. So did the Cowboys. A lot of great teams in the NFC that's still wide open. However, my sleeper is the Minnesota Vikings. Went to Dallas, get a big road win without their wide receiver Thielen on the field. It was all about their ability to stop the run. They stuffed Ezekiel Elliott the entire game. The play-action pass wasn't as effective, even though Dak had a great game. Amari Cooper was out there twinkle toes on the sideline a couple of times. But for me, this was all about the physicality of the Minnesota Vikings getting a win on the road.
It really was. You mentioned Dak Prescott's game. This is one of the best games I've ever seen him play as a Cowboy, but the importance of Ezekiel Elliott and that effectiveness. Like you said, the play-action pass won't work when they're not scared of the run, and they stopped and they held him to 47 yards on 20 carries. It was a really, really impressive win for the Vikings. And Jalen, sometimes, I don't like to give you props. I don't like to give you compliments. But you've been on this since like week 3 that the Vikings are one of the best teams in the NFC. Do you think they can make a challenge and go deep in the playoffs?
You saw Randolph hitting his head on the goalpost a couple of times at tight end. Diggs is one of the best receivers in the game. And Dalvin Cook has more yards, you ready for this, than Christian McCaffrey on the season. He's catching out of the backfield, and he's a dual threat. So I've always liked a Mike Zimmer-led team because they embody toughness.
Absolutely, and we move on to another one of the best teams in the NFC, and that is the Green Bay Packers. They hosted the Cam Newton-less Panthers, and Kyle Allen looked pretty good. You saw Aaron Jones get in the end zone early a couple times, but Kyle Allen, once the snow started falling, he started darting that ball around, and he looked pretty good for the Panthers. Jalen Rose, me and you argue about this. You always say there is no such thing as moral victories, but if you're the Panthers, when you're literally 1 inch away from winning the game, or at least getting it into a chance to get a 2-point conversion, don't you have to feel pretty good about it if you're the Panthers?
Absolutely, especially in those conditions in Green Bay. And that's why I like teams in the Midwest outside, because it creates a distinct home field advantage. And that's what worked in Green Bay's favor. Aaron Jones was terrific again as a dual threat running back, having 3 touchdowns. Their defense will continue to be stopped when it needed to be. Christian McCaffrey's going to get his rush yards against anybody. I figured that out. So for Aaron Rodgers, here's a guy that hasn't been spectacular this year. Trust me, I have him on my fantasy football team. He only had 9 points yesterday. He's only gone over 20 points twice this year. It just 2 of those games were so very spectacular. You get Devontae Adams back. He went up over 100 yards. So this was a great win for the Packers on their home field.
And you say that Aaron Rodgers hasn't been spectacular this year, and you're absolutely right. But one of the reasons is just how good Aaron Jones is for this team to create a balanced attack. I can't think of a running back better than Aaron Jones that Aaron Rodgers has played with for like 5 years. And it's nice to have that as the Packers, and they have a much improved defense. And as you mentioned, they have that home field advantage when the snow's falling in Lambeau. They're just tough to beat. Shout out to Kyle Allen, though. Like, Kyle Allen was not on our radar 6 weeks ago, 7 weeks ago, but he played really, really well in that game, made some really tough throws. We're talking about the best teams in the NFC. We bring up the Vikings, and we bring up the Packers, and another team that we would have put in that conversation, the Saints. They lost, and they didn't just get beat. They lost bad to the Falcons. Jalen Rose, they lost to the Falcons, and not only that is they had on offense 3 field goals. Look at Drew Brees, just running around, getting tackled, getting pulled down. What did the Falcons do to stop the offense of the Saints?
This is flat out a character win for the Atlanta Falcons. Each week I've come on this program and talk about how lackluster they've been to the point where I felt like it was going to cost Dan Quinn his job. And for those that don't pay intimately attention to the NFL, these 2 teams are rivals. And so for them to step up and play the way they did, they needed that game. But the thing that really stands out to me as we talk about Ezekiel Elliott, We talk about Dalvin Cook. We talk about Christian McCaffrey. Alvin Kamara's been quiet.
Yes.
I know he's dealt with some injuries, but usually he's a guy that's over 100 rushing, 75 yards receiving. They got to find a way to get him back kick-started.
So, Jalen, every Monday after Falcons loss, what do we bring up?
Dan Quinn's job security.
Do you think that a win like this, with Powell with a couple more wins, could keep his job in the offseason?
Absolutely. And their owner, Arthur Blank, already came out and said that he wasn't going to panic. He's going to evaluate the season in its totality. But this is a great win for the Falcons.
And I don't think anyone saw this win coming with the Falcons over the Saints. And there was another game that was very similar upset, and that was the Chiefs. The Chiefs went into Tennessee to play the Titans, and the Chiefs, they got Pat Mahomes back. He's got one-footed throws for touchdowns.
Yeah.
He looked like himself. He played great. But Ryan Tannehill? That Ryan Tannehill, who's not good enough to be the starting quarterback for the Dolphins, was out here darting the ball around the field and brought the Titans the win in Tennessee. There was this play too. Maybe he jumped and snapped, maybe not. Doesn't matter now. The game is over. Jalen, what happened in Tennessee to the Chiefs?
We get enamored with the offense, and rightfully so as fans, and we respect the defense when it's physical, but it's three phases to a football game. The special teams lost this for the Chiefs, if you ask me.
Yep.
And so it wasn't just that final play. The field goal kicker botched another situation where he missed the field goal. But for the Kansas City Chiefs, it's their defense and its inability to stop the run. Derrick Henry was out there running like Earl Campbell for the throwback football fans. And while he doesn't catch a lot out of the backfield, he's shown me to be a guy that you can rely on in a lot of situations to get you yards when you needed them. And he got close to 200 yesterday.
Almost 200 yards, 2 touchdowns, and Patrick Mahomes, 446 yards, 3 touchdowns. Like, what more do you need from Mahomes to get a win? Now, keeping my eye on this game, when I saw that the Chiefs were ahead, it felt like the Chiefs kind of got a little too comfortable with the lead. You think that's fair to say?
I do think that's fair to say. But again, when your special teams trots out on the field, they have to execute. In a couple of situations, they did not do so, and I believe that's the reason KC ended up losing.
So KC didn't just lose this one. They kind of stumbled a little bit in the past 4 or 5 weeks. Do you think there's a chance that we have the AFC playoffs without Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs?
No way. As long as Tyreek Hill's healthy, and I know he fell and re-injured his shoulder, I think with Mahomes playing the way he played, there will not be a playoffs in the AFC, and KC isn't involved.
Well, Russell Wilson will play tonight, but there's nothing that he can do that will put him in the lead of the MVP conversation because of what Lamar Jackson did in Cincinnati, just running all of the Bengals in. I mean, that play right there alone was a highlight. He played so well. He didn't even have to play in the fourth quarter. What do you see from Lamar, and is he your MVP right now?
How much do I like the Ravens and John Harbaugh?
You love the Ravens.
I like the Ravens.
You love the Ravens. See, I jumped on the Lamar Jackson Ravens bandwagon like 3 weeks ago. You've been there from the beginning of the season.
Because it's about John Harbaugh and Ozzie Newsome. Like, they always have tough physical teams. You see Marcus Peters score another defensive touchdown. Their defense continues to make plays. And on offense, Lamar's just dazzling. He's really just dazzling. They find ways to put him in situations to be successful. I keep telling you, multiple tight ends, multiple backs. I know you saw that one formation that had 3 Heisman Trophy winners in the back.
The 3 Heisman formation. The 3 Heisman formation. Once I saw that, if I was on defense, I would just call timeout. I just call timeout. Go to the ref. Like, we got to write something to the league or something, because this should not be fair. They're running the triple option. It was like Nebraska in 1986. I loved it so much. And the thing about Lamar Jackson, he's so dazzling on the field. Like, I would rather watch Lamar Jackson than Patrick Mahomes play football. And one thing I love about Lamar, his personality. Let's check in on the quirky Lamar Jackson after the game.
How often you practice that move?
Oh, nah, I never practiced it. Actually, I did it, it was Saturday at walkthrough.
So you did it in slow motion?
But when I did it in the walkthrough, I would've got hit, so I would've. It was Earl coming down.
I don't know if I love the Versace sweater or the sunglasses or the spin move more. I'm just it's Lamar Jackson season this season. Doesn't it just feel like that?
Can I just let people know that the Ravens are for the culture? And one of the terms because he sometimes probably doesn't fit the part. People forget that Lamar Jackson was the Heisman Trophy winner in college. And I like the fact that he said, I tried that spin move in practice and walkthrough, but Earl Thomas was coming down. That was shots to your Bengals, who we feel like don't get disrespected enough. Can Jalen&Jacoby take a second to disrespect the Bengals again?
It is time. When we talk about the worst football teams in the NFL, we talk about the Dolphins in win streak. We talk about that team in Washington who no one wants to discuss. We talk about tanking with all these other teams. The Bengals are so bad. So bad, and no one's noticed. They have not only have they not won a football game, they haven't come close to winning a football game. They're not even trying to win football games. They're so bad that AJ Green is like, you know what? I think I'm hurt. I think I'm hurt. And listen, you know me. There's negativity in my heart. I believe that while we celebrate Lamar Jackson, we need to also disrespect the Bengals, because the people of Cincinnati deserve better than this. This fan base deserves better than this. Like, in the jungle, it's not even the jungle anymore. It's been raised like the Amazon. It's over. It's over. You know what? I'm getting upset about this. Dion Waiters. Dion. It's a short flight, Dion.
You're going to L.A., Dion.
Dion.
They got the best of the best, and it's legal.
We'll explain what we're talking about with Dion Waiters right after this. Coming to you live from Pier 17 in the South Street Seaport and brought to you by Delicious Heineken. Welcome back to Jalen&Jacoby. Jalen Rose, Dion Waiters, and the Miami Heat were on a flight from Phoenix to Los Angeles. On that flight, Dion Waiters had a panic attack, and he has now been suspended 10 games by the Miami Heat because there are reports that panic attack was due to some edibles that were given to him from a teammate, Jalen Rose. I have so many questions.
Jacoby. Adam Silver's on the phone. Hey, Dion, that's a failed test. That's all I know. That's a failed test. Okay, Jacoby. I've been watching a lot of the news. And for the young people, please know what they're saying about that vaping is real. What you said about, your question about the edibles is also real. You can't determine the amount of THC that's in each edible. That's a failed test. Tanner, what is this for Dion Waiters? Come on, I just can't. I can't say this with a straight face.
Everybody knows somebody that ended up in the hospital because of edibles, and now everyone knows Dion Waiters. And while we do wish him the best, and mental health is very important, and we do want him to get back on the court, this isn't just a one isolated incident thing between him and the Miami Heat. If you haven't noticed, he has played 0 minutes for the Heat this year. 0 minutes for the Heat. They've got Kendrick Nunn playing over him, and they've got Tyler Hero playing over him. So what part of this incident do you think is a little bit of him lashing out against the franchise a little bit?
And also, they added Jimmy Butler this offseason to be their best player on the perimeter. Remember, Dion Waiters was getting buckets and playing quality minutes even before Dwayne Wade got back. So he saw his role diminish last year, and then that led into this offseason, and then adding the players you just described has diminished his happiness with that situation. But you still have to be professional, Jacoby. Missing 10 games is going to cost him almost $1 million.
Oh, yeah.
You know what happens? You know what happens when I think about somebody losing $1 million? It makes me call Tanner and ask him, what does that mean for Dion? What does that mean?
Well, there's a couple things. There's also a report that it was one of his teammates that gave him, quote, a gummy, and that he refuses to name who that teammate is. A couple things about that. Number one, shout out to Dion. You know, keep everyone's name out your mouth. I like that move. Number two, it was definitely more than one gummy. It was definitely more than one gummy that gave him a panic attack on this flight. Jalen, this is one warning to everybody out there, especially those that live in states where this stuff, you can just walk into a dispensary and get it. Be very, very careful when consuming edibles. We all know someone who this has happened to. And one thing I hate about edibles, Jalen Rose, I've got 3 little kids. What do they make? Gummy bears, gummy worms, brownies, chocolate bars, all things that my kids love to eat. Please be careful out there with the edibles and keep them away from children.
Well said. That's exactly where I was going. And the Rice Krispies as well.
Yep, all that, all that. Well, we move on to some actual basketball. The Lakers hosted the Raptors in Los Angeles. The Raptors were without Lowry and Ibaka, but they had that, man.
Woo!
And they had Pascal Siakam and Fred VanVleet just getting down in transition. The Lakers went cold in the fourth quarter. Jalen, how impressed are you by this win from the Raptors?
Jacoby, Reggie just reminded me of something. You did a list of your teams in the Eastern Conference to make the playoffs.
Okay.
The Raptors weren't included.
Hold on. So now I'm being sabotaged not just by you, but also by Reggie. You know what I mean? I made some mistake. I just forgot about the Raptors, okay? But now, you always had to phone me. We need to pull up this part where I said this game was gonna go this way and it did. All right, we can start pulling up clips of you getting games wrong too. I know we're gonna start doing that. And I got Reggie working against me too. I see y'all. I see what's happening around here. It's the people that are closest to you are the ones who are against you the most. That's what's really happening around here. All right, now we can start pulling up some old clips of Jalen Rose, talking about 99% sure Kawhi Leonard's going to stay in Toronto, talking about Michael Jordan's going to play a game this year for the Hornets. All right, we can start doing that too. I'm ready. It's all out war now.
Actually, I was going to compliment you because anybody that follows this unprofessional program understands that when we do lists, they're never accurate.
I only forgot one team. Yeah, every time we shouldn't even call them lists anymore. We should call them incomplete lists.
Yeah, let's change. I like that. But let me say one thing about the Raptors. Really well coached. Playing without Serge Ibaka. Playing without Kyle Lowry. The most improved player, Pascal Siakam, will clearly be an all-star this year. Fred VanVleet playing quality minutes. This is a big-time road win against the Lakers, who had won 7 straight.
And you see that it's 32-8 in fast break points. And we always celebrate the Lakers for their defense. We always celebrate the Lakers for their size. But sometimes that size does come at a cost. Not the fastest team up and down the floor, especially when you get someone like Pascal Siakam, who is so good in transition, finishes tough buckets, going 100 miles an hour. I love Siakam's game, and I think you are right. I think he will be an all-star in the East. You know what? They're not only just playing without Serge Ibaka and Kyle Lowry, they're playing without Kawhi Leonard. Like, let's not forget that part. They're playing without Kawhi Leonard, who's obviously on the Clippers.
And Danny Green, who was on the other team.
That's a great point. Jalen Rose, the stretch mark 5, had himself a weekend. Nikola Jokic, the stretch mark 5, he did this to beat the Sixers on Friday night at home, and then last night on Sunday, what'd he do? He doubled down. Look at his little turnaround. A 1-foot turnaround from 20 feet. What'd you see from the stretch mark 5 over the weekend?
I got to give people a little snapshot behind the curtain. Over the last couple of weeks, Jacoby was a little disappointed. You know, he trademarked stretch mark 4 and 5. His favorite body type plays in Denver, got off to a slow start. Jacoby was upset. He wasn't himself. And then all of a sudden, I look down at my phone, Jokic hitting turnaround jumpers to win games back-to-back. He's enthusiastic again. You're a happy camper now.
I'm back. When Jokic plays well, I play well. That's the way it works. Me and Jokic are tied together because we have the same body type as a fellow stretch mark basketball player. Jalen, you know I love Jokic. Makes me happy when he plays well. But one of your guys, we have some very bad news about. Gordon Hayward out with a broken hand. Jalen Rose will commiserate after this. Jalen and Jacoby. Jalen Rose, do you remember? Wasn't that long ago? We were talking about the Rams, Sean McDonough, and Todd Gurley, and this offense, and they bolstered the defense over the offseason. Has it played out the way we expected it to? They faced off against the Steelers, and the Steelers' defense looked great. The Rams ended up losing this game 12-17. The Rams are now 5-4 and don't feel like one of the best teams in the NFC, let alone the NFL. What has changed for them from last year to this year?
Well, a couple of things that have changed. One, Todd Gurley, though he had 70-plus yards yesterday, is not the 3-down bell cow. Is one of the top performing backs in the league. Had a huge game the prior week, going over 200 yards. Caught for as many yards as you and I combined.
Wow.
0. If I'm the Rooney family, this morning I bring Mike Tomlin into the office and give him an extension. He's doing an amazing job with this team. Doesn't have Big Ben. Added Minkah Fitzpatrick, 3rd straight game with an interception. Remember they acquired him from Miami? And people were like, Ben Roethlisberger got hurt. Why y'all bring him in?
I was like that. I was like, what is he doing? Like, why are you bringing in Minka Fitzpatrick? And he's played great the last couple weeks. Sometimes you got to admit when you're wrong. So, Jalen, this thing about Jared Goff is I'm not so sure anymore. I mean, if you look there, Pittsburgh did play great defense, but there's 16 times that you get the ball on 3rd and 4th down to try to convert a first down, and it only happens once? What happened to the genius of Sean McVay? What happened to Jared Goff being one of the best quarterbacks in the league? What happened?
Todd Gurley, I'm going to have to put some of that on him because, again, it was like a lot of play action pass to me that allowed Goff to play at extreme. And he's had so many games this year, 40 pass attempts, 45 pass attempts, 50 pass attempts. They don't have the balance. And I agree with you. You can look at the offense, but however, we got to look at the defense too. Aaron Donald was playing at home. And y'all still allowing the Steelers to get yards and make plays? They added Jalen Ramsey. They allowing this Steelers offense to make plays? I was disappointed in both sides of the ball for the Rams in that game.
Yeah, when they remixed their secondary, I had higher expectations for them, and they haven't seen that new secondary featuring Jalen Ramsey, who many consider, if not the best, the top 3 cornerback in the NFL. This Rams team still has time to turn it around, but if you're to look at me and say which one of these 2 teams have turned their season around, it is the Pittsburgh Steelers, who have won 4 straight games without Big Ben. Now, Jalen, we might talk too much about the Browns in the national media. Just across the board, it feels like the Browns get a little too much attention, but they always keep it dramatic. And they did exactly that yesterday against the Bills. They had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I don't know exactly how many chances from the 1-yard line, couldn't get it in. And then Mayfield, that was complete to not Landry, not Odell Beckham, but his guy Higgins. And at the end of the game, here it is. I thought maybe it went in. Refs did not agree, and the Browns end up getting the win at home. What do you think about this big win for the Browns?
I mentioned it to you recently. Their schedule starts to soften. So therefore, the narrative around the Browns is going to slowly start to change because I think they have an opportunity to get a couple of wins. But for Buffalo and their special teams, you got to make that field goal. See, we talk so much about the offense and the defense. Special teams is the third element. That's a makeable field goal. You have to find a way to tie the game in that situation.
And you really do. And, we have people at ESPN that crunch the numbers, and they have the remaining strength of schedule for the Browns as 32nd. And just a quick reminder, there are 32 teams in the league, which means, according to our number crunchers, that the Browns have the easiest strength of schedule moving forward. So it sounds like we will not stop talking about this Cleveland Browns team anytime soon. Jalen, can they make the playoffs in the AFC?
You just said their strength of schedule is the easiest in the NFL. Next weekend is going to be the weekend we see Odell go for 150, get 2 touchdowns, integrate a Hunt for a second straight week to go with Nick Chubb. This team is going to continue to improve, and I believe they still have what it takes to make the playoffs.
I hope they do. Well, one team that will definitely not be making the playoffs are either of the teams in this next contest, but the Jets won a game. The Jets won a game. The Jets won a national football game, albeit against the Giants. But a win is a win. Darnold got some touchdowns. There was this one play from Jamal Adams that you just absolutely have to see. Look at this. Give me that football. Just grabs it out of Daniel Jones' hands and runs it in for a touchdown. Jalen, is there anything to look up for if you're a Jets fan?
Jamal Adams. You know how I feel about DBs and safeties. You see how he ran through Saquon Barkley. A really stout blocking back when he needs to be. Ran through him and took the ball from Danny Pennies. Remember he had a nickname? Dimes? What happened?
Hold up.
Turnover machine. I'm trying to tell you.
Listen, 4 touchdowns, 308 yards through the air. I still believe in Danny Nichols. I still believe in Danny Nichols. It's
And a
not his
couple of
fault.
those
It's not his
plays
fault.
were to Golden Tate, but I agree with you. It wasn't necessarily all on him. It's a great Jets win, and you got to give Sam Darnold a lot of credit because he seemed poised from the beginning, driving them straight down the football field.
Jalen, Saquon Barkley did not only not break 100 yards, like he barely advanced the ball past the line of scrimmage for the entire day. What is happening with Saquon Barkley?
How about this for fantasy owners? Yesterday I had Aaron Rodgers, 9 points. Saquon Barkley, 10 points. Dak Prescott, people keep questioning whether he should possibly get his money. He's outplayed Aaron Rodgers basically the entire season and went for 3 touchdowns last night and cost me fantasy by 2 points yesterday.
So, Jalen, I'm going to ask you the hardest question I've asked you in a long time. There's 3 entities that you pay attention to on Sunday. The Lions, the National Football League as a whole, and your fantasy team. Which one do you care about the most?
My fantasy team.
I knew at least you're being honest. One person I know you care about is a gentleman by the name of Gordon Hayward. You have labeled him as one of your guys years and years and years ago when he was with the Jazz, and he really seemed like he was working his way back to that old form when he was in Utah, and then this happened. Freak play. He's just fighting through a pick. He kind of gets blindsided by LaMarcus Aldridge. You can't really see what happens, but he now has a broken hand. Jalen, what do you feel when you heard the news about Hayward's left hand?
This is major for the Boston Celtics. I don't think it's going to be catastrophic because they play in the Eastern Conference, but he was playing like an all-star. Mm-hmm. And his playmaking and his shooting really balanced off the attack and allows guys like Kemba Walker to be on and off the ball. Same with Marcus Smart. Allowed Tatum to continue to have opportunities for slashing along with Jaylen Brown. They're one less man in their backcourt now. I think that's going to be something that really affects their record going forward in a negative way.
Jalen, I spent a lot of time with you, and I oftentimes look down at your hand, and there's a big old scar right on top of it because you had surgery. Given the timetable of your injury and your sort of familiarity with this type of injury, do you think we can get him back for the playoffs?
This could be 15 or 20 games.
Okay.
It depends on if he actually has to get surgery or not. That's the difference. If he has to get surgery, it's the first timetable. If he doesn't have to get surgery, I'll say it'd be about 10 games.
Well, we're all rooting for you, Gordon Hayward. And one thing I love about the Celtics is the camaraderie, especially between a gentleman by the name of Taco Fall, who we all know about, and Enes Kanter. They did something that I needed to talk to Jalen Rose about. This is Kanter giving Fall a haircut. Jalen, have you ever gotten your haircut by a teammate?
I love that brotherhood. And if he's getting a baldy, is that truly considered a haircut?
That's a great point. It's a great point. But I would trust a friend with a baldy, though. I wouldn't trust a friend to give me a fade, but I would trust a friend to give me a baldy. But look at that footage. Enes Kanter doesn't look too comfortable with the clippers in his hand. Like, he doesn't look too comfortable. I know you spent more time of your life in a barber chair than you have in a chair in the studio. Did he look like confident cutting Taco Fall's hair?
He did not look confident. And by the way, Enes Kanter has really good hair. I bet he wouldn't allow somebody on his team to cut his. So this is hypocritical, Enes.
Yeah, and also my question for you still stands. Have you ever let someone who is not a barber cut your hair?
Absolutely not. The last 10 years, only 3 people have cut my hair. Shiz, 215 exclusive, my guy Hawk in the ATL, and my guy Andy Authentic in Connecticut. Or my guy B Hess in Detroit. 4 people have gotten a chance to cut this wig.
Very quickly, Jalen Rose, over the course of your entire life, how much money do you think you've spent on haircuts if you add it all together?
$1 million.
At least $1 million. That's probably just like since 2010 until now. All cash after taxes, too. Jalen, it's worth it. It looks great every single time you're on the show. We've already been through 30, 40 minutes of this show, and we have not mentioned the biggest game in college football season between LSU and Alabama. We will get to the action, Tuscaloosa, right after this. Welcome back to Jalen&Jacoby. Jalen Rose, has been a weird week in the NFL, and we have a big game tonight, a Monday night in the Bay. I could see either the Seahawks or the 49ers blowing the other team out. Those are my favorite types of games. Who you got tonight in the Bay?
Physicality will be on display. Remember, there was a time where these 2 squads were headed on a collision course to be rivals. Colin Kaepernick was under center for the 49ers going against Russell Wilson. Now we've come full circle, and it's legitimate. With an undefeated 49ers team likely to be playing without Kittle at tight end, terrific run game. Russell Wilson continues to dazzle all season. 49ers playing at home, I'm picking them to get it done anyway.
Just because I like to disagree with you, I will take the Seahawks, and we will check in tomorrow on who's right. Jalen, at Tyler the Creator's Flogged Off Festival in Los Angeles at Dodger Stadium, there was rumors that Frank Ocean was going to perform. Just rumors. So I guess that's what the crowd wanted, and they ended up getting Drake. Drake cut his set short because he was booed Jalen Rose, why would anyone boo Drake? Explain that to me.
The same people that's gonna get right into the car and listen to all of this music. That's why
Exactly.
I
It
just
doesn't
don't
make any
understand.
sense.
It
It doesn't make any sense to boo Drake. Drake is one of the best performers that we have in the game today. And everybody loves Drake. It makes absolutely no sense to me. Drake, you're welcome to come on the show anytime. I promise you will not get booed. We have a very special guest joining us right now. Who's that, Jalen?
My daughter Mariah.
What up, y'all?
She's a sophomore at the University of Georgia, and she's not happy this year because the Golden State Warriors are struggling.
You know what? I expected.
But they'll be back next year. See y'all tomorrow.